All right, I got 6 o'clock. Let's go ahead and call village board order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'd like to thank everyone for their attendance, and the minutes can reflect the attendance of the various trustees, staff, and other officials. Let's move on to item 3. I entertain a motion for the approval of the 6-1 Committee of the Whole, the 6-1 Village Board meeting minutes, and filed the 3-9 Board of Public Works, 3-10 Public Safety Committee, the 4/28/2020 Community CDA, Community Development Authority meeting minutes as presented.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
As always, comments, questions, clarifications on the minutes.
Yeah, I just have one real minor correction to Board of Public Works that we failed to catch when we went to committee. But on page 5, see the fourth paragraph down, it talks about Director Thomas also noted that the contact does not include, it should be contract does not include liquidated damages. Just missing an R there.
All right, look for those changes. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Item 4, anybody in the audience wishing to be heard on a non-agenda item? Let's move on to item 5, business presented by the president. We have one opening in the Park and Rec, and we have an application. That person's resume is included. Jamie Bernoble, I believe it is. I'll entertain a motion for that approval.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Let's move on to item 6, resolutions, ordinance, and action items. Item A is a resolution authorizing the execution of documents in connection with the Phase 1 feasibility analysis of fire and EMS service sharing in Ozaukee County. This was an item that actually I believe we as a community kicked off probably 3 years ago. And we're starting to get some traction on it. So Jesse, you want to kind of give us an update?
We are. That is spot on, Mr. President, in that we have had a series of meetings over the last couple of years here to bring in different stakeholders, including communities, Port Washington, Cedarburg, Town of Cedarburg, Saukville, Kingsville, Mequon, and so on, where we met with the Wisconsin Policy Forum, formerly the Public Policy Forum, to craft a scope of work to conduct a feasibility study of service sharing options within the fire and EMS service countywide. We have approached all of the departments within the county. We are expecting to hear back from some of the smaller departments to the north later this week. I have received verbal confirmation that Belgium will look to participate, but I have not heard back from Waukesha and Fredonia as of yet. That said, the primary stakeholders group, the communities I mentioned just before, just by timing of meetings and our calendar, we are the last ones to come forward with this resolution and memorandum of understanding and scope to its governing body. All of the other stakeholders have approved the resolution and associated documents. That said, looking at the project, again, it is a feasibility study of what services could be shared, whether that's purchasing, joint training, would consolidation make sense of, physically combining departments in certain areas or all areas. So really looking to drill down and provide options to explore should they present themselves. With that, the methodology of the Wisconsin Policy Forum would be to collect data by personally meeting with each of the participating departments, being operating budgets, capital budgets, call histories, personnel-related data, staffing levels, and some policy review as well. With that, they would formulate a series of service sharing or potentially consolidation options to consider. And then they are looking at a 6-month time frame and with a guarantee that we will be done before year's end with a report in hand. Currently, the project is quoted at $22,000, not to exceed. This analysis would not exceed, and it is proposed as a cost share equally among the participating communities. Because I do not have a formal participation agreement from Belgium currently with the 7 participating communities that have signed on, including Grafton. Our cost share would be $3,100. If at such time Belgium or anyone else were to sign on, this would that cost share would drop accordingly. With that, as I mentioned, we would look to the Wisconsin Policy Forum, would look to kick off later this month, take about 6 months to complete, with a report to be in hand before the end of this calendar year. The resolution before the board sets forth the village's intent to participate, but also notes that we would that you're authorizing the entering into the letter of agreement and the memorandum of understanding with the policy forum to conduct this study, along with the other communities that are participating being listed. So with that, it is a long time coming. I'm very happy to bring this to the board, as it's taken some time to have the discussions that started among the administrators, reached out to the fire chiefs, in turn reached out to the chief elected officials of the varying communities, to then bring to their respective policy-making boards. So that is what is before the board this evening.
Okay, thank you. So you did make a couple points. It is a long time coming. This is something that we as a board have commissioned actually Jesse to take on. I'm thinking this is almost the 3rd year that we've been trying to get everybody on board.
We initially budgeted ourselves for the project, not knowing who might come on board with it, but following a lot of discussions, it has come to fruition where we are right now sitting on 7 stakeholders with a cost sharing arrangement, so it has worked out in our favor, but again, it is a long time.
And I think the fact that everybody, almost all of our neighbors have signed on to probably demonstrates the fact that the challenges that face our fire department face all the fire departments in the county. So I think it's an opportunity for us to do that study, see what comes out, see what kind of opportunities show up.
Jesse?
Yes, sir.
At these meetings, there was all the fire chiefs and all the administrators?
It started with the administrators, then we reached out to the fire chiefs, and then we reached out to the chief elected officials. Now moving forward, it's primarily going to be meeting with the fire chiefs. The administrators have one more meeting, but then the policy forum folks will be meeting specifically with the fire chiefs.
Any questions? Yes, Dave.
Yes, I have a quick question here. Given the fact this could be $3,100, will this be shared amongst the town, or is this primarily a Village of Grafton expenditure?
This is a Village of Grafton expenditure, as the town is under a service contract with us. We provide the service, it is our department, so therefore we are shouldering the cost.
Thank you.
Other questions? Yes.
So, yes, I just wanted to also confirm, on the information from the Wisconsin Policy Forum, it does say that they're proposing the creation of the work group consisting of fire chiefs and administrators. So does that mean at any point in time to be 14 people kind of weighing in on this?
I understand it to be more of, initially, it'll be individual outreaches and sit down with departments to avoid the concern of too many cooks in the kitchen, pardon the expression, but I think that's where your concern lies. But as we get the report being formulated, it will be shared amongst that larger work group, but the individual data gathering will be specifically with departments one-on-one.
Okay.
Okay, other questions? All right, this is a resolution, so it takes an offer, motion, and a second.
I'll offer.
Motion.
Second. A motion second, final comments? Yes?
One final comment. The resolution that you're passing refers to a memorandum of understanding that I think was drafted by the Wisconsin Policy Forum. There's some language at the end of it that's a little confusing and doesn't make sense about what happens if one municipality gets billed and then has to bill back the other municipalities. I just want the board to know that we're going to clean that language up and make sure it's clear that everyone pays just their share. So in your resolution tonight or in the minutes, we can reflect that the resolution will refer to a corrected and a cleaned up memorandum of understanding.
That indicates.
If one municipality gets billed, it will bill back all the other municipalities for their share. It currently says for 1/2, which I don't really it's currently confusing. So we're going to clean that language up to make clear that if the policy forum decides to bill one municipality, that municipality will collect the other municipality's shares from them.
Yes.
Their full share.
All right, we have an offer motion, second with understanding. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Item B is a motion to approve the small business relief loan for Angela Matt. You want to go ahead and give us some updates on that?
Certainly. As you may recall, the village board did approve the creation of a small business relief loan program. The initial seed funding of $125,000 with loans up to 5-year loans up to $10,000 per business. Just looking to assist local businesses coming, affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. We do have one approved application to date for $8,600, leaving a balance of $116,400 available. With that, the latest application to come forward is Ms. Angela Mack, doing business as Ozaki Talent. They've been in operation for just shy of 5 years here in Grafton. They offer music lessons and other music-related educational opportunities. With that, the original application did come forward in the amount of $10,000, the maximum amount per the program. Upon reviewing the records submitted and working to get an understanding of what the utilization of those funds would be through increased marketing, funding for technology, and development of additional online video opportunities, we are coming back to the village board as a loan review team, being Ozaki Economic Development, the community development director, and myself, to recommend to the village board that the loan be reduced to $5,000 because of the business's financial situation. By that, it is a small, single person owned business. The record keeping is a bit informal, if you will. However, did provide adequate documentation to us, but not to the level of a corporate-backed Postnet or something of that nature. So, with that, looking to provide assistance through this program, but not to the maximum extent which was requested. So therefore, the action requested is to approve the reduced relief loan for Ozaki County.
Yes.
Jesse, was the business informed of this action or proposed action?
Yes, sir. Ms. Schilling from OED, Ozaki Economic Development, did reach out to the business owner and explained the concerns that the review team had, and that the loan amount being recommended was lower.
Thank you.
The feedback? What do you guys, so my concern a little bit is, first off, the program is great. And now we're starting to see some interest in it and some of the, I think the requests. I'm wondering if we should look at some of the guidelines based on the type of interest that we're seeing. I mean, do we want to focus, a sizable chunk, 10%, 5%, or whatever of the thing on a sole proprietor? Or do we want to say, should there be a minimum of employees, like 3 or 4 or something like that? And should we have something that, the staff should be able to relate to that's more official, like we said, in the financials and things like that, for review and things like that? I mean, I'm just kind of, now that we're getting into this, now we're getting more information. So do we want to polish this up a little bit? Or what are the thoughts? I mean, at the end of the day, I think Jessica made the point. This is, when this program goes, this goes back into our RLF. So for doing small business loans. So, you have a thought?
Yeah, so this is a loan and they do pay this back, correct?
Just the idea.
Okay.
Assuming they don't go out of business.
Right. It would be awful if some of the smaller companies or businesses requesting this would go out of business. Right, but what do we have to really say that won't happen or will happen? I guess I feel we put it out there and somebody with a small business applied, and I think that's fine.
So do you think that, at least from the criteria, that they should have solid bookkeeping?
Yeah, I mean, it could be better, right? I mean, and maybe this is something she can improve on?
Yes, potentially with increased funding for technology, adapting different practices, that would be for her to decide. It was her accountant on her behalf that supplied the information to Ozaki Economic Development. But again, I think it was more of a matter of there was financial information provided on behalf of the business. It just wasn't necessarily to the level of like a corporate-backed Postnet or a more of a corporate entity, whereas this is a sole proprietorship, a small business, well, all of them are small business, but a sole proprietorship, so I think it was just on a less formal level. It would be the best way I could describe it. Jessica, if you had some additional feedback.
Obviously without divulging sensitive personal financial information for their operation, it was more of stability and longevity and showing revenue year over year. Not that she isn't a successful business, but again, without a sole proprietorship, again, long-term stability and concrete revenue generated is not going to be as significant as someone like a Postnet or some other operation. So,
Is this only the second applicant we've had for this?
I have 2 more applications that we will be receiving soon.
Yeah, I guess thank you for answering the question. How many of these do we have on the pipeline right now? We have 2 in the pipeline, we have
Yes.
2, 3, 2. I think given that we're in maybe about 4 weeks into this, not sure that we have to revise above what we have, given what the number of folks who applied for it at this time.
Okay, so I think then what I'm hearing is the general criteria for application is fine. I think some of the feedback, at least I would like to take from staff, is that applicants should be able to provide solid financial background of their business, and they should be able to provide a reasonable level of assurance of being able to repay that loan. I don't think that's changing anything. It's just kind of enforcing an expectation. All right, with that being said, I'll entertain that motion for approval.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion second, final comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Move on to item C, approve the order of 2021 Chevrolet Tahoe Special Services Vehicle from Eagle Automotive for $41,053 plus registration fees.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion second, this is coming to the fire department. Chief, want to give us the lowdown?
Sure. This is a item that's been in our capital plan for 5 years. It's due to be purchased this year. Normally in January, we would go to whoever the low bidder is for the state. This year when we did that, they told us we had to wait. There was a change in the design that was affecting the bidding. So once they did notify us, we were well into the COVID crisis, and that added additional delays to it. I received a call from the low bidder who knew we were interested. I went and talked to them, and one of the recommendations of the woman from Ewald was, if you want this before the end of the year or by January, try to get the order in the next few days. That was a few days prior to our public safety meeting where the agenda had already been made out for. So the problem is there's a lot of single orders like ours for these vehicles, but there's also large counties throughout the country that will place an order for, say, 50 of them or 100 of them, or even more in some cases. So what we're trying to do is get this order in as soon as possible, so we hopefully have it around the end of the year. Then there'll be probably at least a month upfitting with radios, lights, sirens. The vehicle is technically replacing our current paramedic first response vehicle. Technically, that's the one that's in bad condition. That will leave. The vehicle I currently drive will get transitioned over to the paramedic first response vehicle, and this vehicle I will drive. If you've ever looked in the back of either of those vehicles, you'll see a command center in mine, a lot of cabinetry, some sophisticated radios, etc. A lot of equipment is neatly stored back there, so there's a lot of additional work ahead of us. But the goal here by bringing this to you tonight is to get the order placed as being as soon as tomorrow.
Comments, questions? Hearing none, go ahead.
Chief Rice, do you have any idea, it says you're gonna sell the current PFR vehicle, any idea what you think you'll get for that?
I really don't. I really don't know. We tend, anything we sell just doesn't seem to generally do that well. It has relatively low miles, but the body has huge chunks of, like the rocker panels have just disintegrated. And we just have a lot of mechanical problems with it, so my guess is a retail, when we try to sell it on auction, will be pretty low. Maybe $3,000, $4,000 would be a wild guess.
Other questions? Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Move on to item B, report of the committee of the whole, and that was the entertained motion for the approval of the 21 through 25 five-year TAP improvement program as presented.
I'll make a motion.
A second.
Motion and second, there were no changes that were recommended as from the recommendation from committee of the whole. Any changes, any last questions, any comments? Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Let's move on to item E. Report of the Board of Public Works. We have 3 items. One is a motion to award a not-to-exceed contract to Rockwell Tree Science of Merton, Wisconsin, in the amount of $27,250 be approved.
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
Motion and second, and again, this is to update our tree inventory report. Okay,
Correct.
and it's a matching grant?
It is, so this is the amount that we would award to them, but out of the village budget, it's gonna be half of that, so just over 13,000.
Okay. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Item 2 is a motion to approve ordinance series 2020 amending section 11.04.015 sidewalk construction repair bond requirements be approved.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay. The only clarification I suggested is on page, under the sidewalk and sidewalk openings, section 11.116.020, which is like the first page of the ordinance, where it says, on the bottom of the change, or the addition, the amount of the indemnity bond, I'm recommending the change is the amount of the indemnity bond shall be identified by staff and established by the village board, subject to modification by resolution, and the indemnity bond shall be held at the Department of Public Works, not available. And I can get that to
That'd be helpful.
Kate. Huh? Question?
Yeah, I have a question. So, is this now going to be called the right-of-way bond?
It is.
Okay. And my other question was, the cost of this, it's changed, which is what you gave us at Public Works.
Right, so we
Right.
talked about at Public Works that it would be 2,000 no matter what.
Right.
To get rid of the $500, I think, dollar option that's on there.
Right, does that need to be included in the motion? I mean, in
If
other
you
words,
would like to approve, yes, so give something that
okay,
goes
because
to
otherwise there's,
2,000.
I couldn't find any indication in this that, you know, of any amount of money, unless I missed it.
Correct, so we're trying to take the money out of the ordinance, so we don't have to update the ordinance every time.
Okay.
But if you'd like something in the motion to set it at 2,000.
Yep.
These do have to be approved by the board, so if we're taking it out of the ordinance, we would either have to come back for a second approval of that, or ask the board to include it now, or authorize the staff to track it.
Right, that's the thought, is staff would create it and then bring that in, or we just approve that.
Next time.
Establish it, yeah.
Okay.
Sure. That's fine. Unless you guys just want it, it's not really an action item, so really bring it back. Questions? All right, I'll entertain that motion.
I'll make a motion.
Wait, do we have a motion?
Yes.
Amy and Dan?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I didn't write it down, okay. All right, we have a motion second.
For number 2.
Other questions on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Item 3 is the ordinance amending section 11.16020 sidewalk and sidewalk openings bond required.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Amber, just because the camera's on, what's the difference between these two?
Sure, so the first one, we were talking about a right-of-way bond, which is something that a contractor would get if they're doing any work on the property to ensure that they don't do any damage to our public right-of-way infrastructure. The second one is a bond you get for doing like a street or a sidewalk opening. So if you're going to put a new driveway in and kind of cut the curb, it's a bond that you get for that work.
So, but different. Questions for Amber? All right, motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Item F is report of the Public Safety Committee. We only have one item. Item 2 is the request tabled by attorney, so that'll be my request when we get that far. Item 1 is a motion to approve replacing 2 yield signs at the intersection of Hunters Lane and Iroquois Avenue with stop signs be approved.
Make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Item 2, entertain a motion to table.
I'll make the motion to table.
I'll second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item is tabled. Item 7, Department of Officers report. Jesse, you want to kick it off?
Absolutely. Very happy to report, as of June 29th, our brand new deputy clerk, Carmen Courtright, will be joining us. Then we can get away from our outgoing phone message that we have in place right now. We will be full staffed at the front counter once again. Revaluation on-site inspection letters have been distributed. Speaking with a handful of residents, they've received them, and so far we've advertised it via our website and social media as well, and the feedback, they have appreciated that we put the informational link out there as well. The timeline for that the updated timeline for that project was published with the latest update bulletin to the board. Also another good news report here, soil excavation at the Clark site is complete. The demolition is pending, subject to asbestos testing results. Waiting to get the final numbers on that to determine how that will have to be remediated as part of the demolition. Last but not least, a little bit of excitement at Veterans Park over the weekend, where our canoe and kayak launch decided to dislodge and was in the river. A couple of fishermen on site were actually able to help as it floated close to shore, lodge it on a rock. Public Works was called in, they responded immediately and reattached the launch. Interestingly enough, it happened to be my assistant Little League baseball coach who was fishing downtown at Veterans Park. And I get a phone call, not sure who to call, so quickly I was able to get a hold of Amber to have staff called out and correct the situation. So with that, that was the exciting news for the weekend. So those are the updates that I have for this evening, other than what's been published with the update bulletins.
All right, thank you. We have good representation of staff here tonight. Anybody have any questions for them?
So, is that because the kayak launch was, I don't know, did the higher level of water dislodge something, Amber? What do you think?
I don't know, the report that we got from those that were at the park, that there were possibly some children playing on it, but I'm not
Okay.
sure what causing the water level is still fairly high, but has come down significantly from, a few weeks ago as well, so I don't exactly know
Okay.
how or why.
Okay, thank you.
So I asked, go ahead.
And I was gonna say, the only thing I had, Jesse, was, so this is a temporary, situation with the phones where
Yes.
nobody answers, and so that will.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, that is going to improve. I did publish out to the trustees today as well. Thank you to the clerk's office for unearthing the historical document being the direct extensions.
Yeah.
Where right now, until such time we have a live body able to answer the phones, that outgoing message, as soon as you hear that voice, you can dial in that extension and reach whichever staff member that you're looking to contact directly. But again, happy to say that our deputy clerk will be joining us here in fairly short order, so that situation will be corrected.
Have you had many complaints with people calling and being confused about that?
No,
If they
thankfully.
could get through to you?
No, thankfully. There have been a couple, admittedly, but no, there hasn't been too many. We've been working very hard to check those voicemails that accumulate and make sure we get it out to the departments as needed, or make that a call back right away. So we've been working to be diligent on that.
Okay, we're only getting about 2 to 3 voicemails a day. I'm not getting that much activity.
Can you update the names on those? I called Jessica the other day, it was Like Ramasak.
I was told when I started that we don't have the capability of changing them,
All right.
antiquated phone system.
Oh, my God.
Goodness gracious, it's time to update our
Well,
phone.
find out yourself.
Same way with the committees on the Facebook, are they gonna update the names, who's on the committees?
All right, let's get on that.
Website, we will verify that and make corrections as needed for sure. Yep.
And Jessica, any word about starting of the new facility over on, for the autistic people? When they're gonna start that?
No, they won't be starting until much later this year.
Okay,
They
thank you.
haven't even submitted that to the state. And then that'll be probably a 4 to 6 week review period in the state, depending on what their backlog is. And then they'll have to go through our process too, and so will be much later in the year.
The two ladies who were concerned about the stop signs are very happy. They
Great.
sent me a note.
Wonderful.
Amber, the other thing I would ask is, I heard that some replacement parts are being ordered for the dock. I'd like to know if it was a design, if it was a natural causes, the floods, high water, so you kind of get an idea, or the board can get an idea of a little bit more root cause what happened.
Sure.
Great. Other questions for staff? All right, thank you. Let's move on to item 8. Licenses. Item A is approval of the operator's licenses as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Item B, C, and D are the annual licenses, renewals for the various establishments, for liquor licenses, for tobacco products, and for coin machine amusement devices. I'm willing to take those all together, since those are annual licenses. I'll entertain a motion for B, C, and D.
I make the motion.
Second. Motion is second for approvals of items B, C, and D. Final questions?
Question? The River Room, are we issuing a license for them?
Yes. They've indicated that they have a few outstanding obligations they have made to some different groups, so they
I
want
can't,
to.
please.
Oh, I'm sorry. They made some, they had some bookings that they wanted to fulfill before they ended.
Good.
So they want to get those done.
All right. Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Item 9 for the bills. And note for approval of village expenditures, $285,151.24.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Responses to questions that were sent out. Any final questions on concerns on the bills? Yes.
One final question, I apologize, I didn't get this in, but I kind of just stumbled upon it later this afternoon on batch 1, page 7. The vendor is North Shore Environmental, and we're showing a payment of $62,800. This was for biosolids sludge removal from a digester at the treatment plant. First thing is it's coded incorrectly. It should be a contract service. So instead of the extension 319, it should be extension 210. And secondly, I looked back to my budget and we had only budgeted $57,200 for that work. So this exceeds budget. The budget number that I saw was for both digesters, and I need to get a clarification as to whether this is for digester 2 as the description says, or whether we're going to get another bill for digester 1 when that cleaning is completed later this year.
It's for both digesters.
Pardon?
It's for both.
That's for both?
Yes.
Okay.
And, like, and the
I-
removal of the sludge.
So-
the
So we
safe
just got
environment.
I don't mean to challenge, but we did get a report at the Public Works meeting that indicated cleaning of one digest, I think they said it was the east digester, has been completed, and the west digester has yet to be done, but will be done later this year, so I'm a
I'll
little
double
bit
check. I
confused.
believe I kind of looked it up this morning. I could have sworn it said both two digesters, but I'll verify and let Justin know.
I would hope it's two, because otherwise we're way over budget. And that doesn't sound right.
I'll re-verify.
I do have your response, Paul, and you do have on here, it's for both of them.
Yeah, I'm positive, but I'll still double check.
Okay. All right, any final, yep.
Oh, yeah, I have a couple. The batch 2, page 2, the charges were unallocated, and it was the room for officer for COVID-19. I asked about if that's police or fire, and I was told it was police department. Jesse, I didn't know anything about police officers being quarantined.
Yes, we had several officers on an arrest where the subject tested positive for COVID-19. For the safety of the family, we did offer the room, similar to several firefighters that came in contact with a positive patient. We received a significant discount due to the first responders and the concerns that were present. And with that, there were 2 officers that did have a room for a very short time, and then were cleared to return home. So one officer actually decided not to utilize that option and just simply went home. However, the 2 officers, as I recall, one had a small child at home, the other one had a compromised individual in their household.
So is that why the amounts are different? $495
yes.
and $275?
Yes.
Is that for the 2-week period for the $495 or?
Frankly, I have to look back at the history of it. I don't recall the specifics other than what I just relayed.
Okay, because it does seem more expensive than, I believe, the fire department's costs, which I think were a little bit less, but okay. I was not aware that any police officers were in quarantine.
Yes, it was actually a mutual aid call where 3 of our officers and an officer from Cedarburg responded. And so unfortunately our staff, thankfully I should say, our staff had their PPE on, but still knowing that they were in direct contact with somebody who tested positive, took that precautionary step.
Did they get tested themselves at some
They
point?
did, and they cleared.
Okay, and then my last one is from Ozaki Ace Hardware, batch 2, page 2.
Yes.
And you had said that that was for approximately 295 masks.
Correct.
Are those being saved somewhere, or are they being doled out to different departments?
Those are part of the inventory with regards to the fire department, police department, and elections at the time. We were struggling trying to get inventory at that point. I had reached out to local businesses. Ace Hardware called me and said that they had some in, and that is what they were willing to sell to me because they wanted to keep some for their business themselves. And that was the cost for 200 count of N95 masks.
Okay, thank you.
And that's an eligible reimbursement?
Yes. Yep, that'll be submitted.
I don't know if this was addressed in the emails from Paul, and I had a chance to look at it today. But on page 12, WRA 1505 Apartments LLC, says 4th Lumberyard Environmental Reimbursement. Is that the final one?
Possibly not.
Probably not.
There will be another small reimbursement if at such time as fiduciary redevelops the final 4th lot, which is right on Wisconsin Avenue at the intersection with the traffic signal.
Okay, with
There's
that.
a small lot there.
What's our total so far? Do you have an approximate number?
500,000, maybe, less than that.
500,000?
It's less than that.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
This might be for you, Mike. On travel to and attendance at a village board meeting for $200. Could you?
Customarily or historically, we would only charge travel one way, and I don't travel very far. I only come from my office here in Grafton, so that's just how it's billed, and I believe that would represent about 1 hour of my time, which is probably about what that meeting was.
And that, as I recall, that's all set forth in the service contract.
There is a service contract, that's right.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Item 10, motion to adjourn.
Motion. I make a motion.
Motion,
I'll make a second.
motion a second, all in favor?